Welcome in 304 podcast here live tonight on Facebook and YouTube. How is everybody doing tonight?
What is up, people? What is up? What it is. Back for another fun-filled action here tonight on the 304 podcast on Facebook, YouTube, all the above.
Yeah, tonight me and Marcus want to get together and have a little bit of fun, talk a little bit of football, just not really deep diving anything, but just kind of talking about some of the big funny stories and
Mm-hmm.
things that's going on through the week, just kind of pull opinions out of each other. So grab your tasty beverage and kick back, relax. If you got questions or want to talk sports with us, let us know. Leave us messages down in the chat. We'll get to them.
Yep.
We kind of picked, a few topics tonight that we're going to go over and just kind of weigh in on them a little bit and just kind of go from there. So buckle in, friend.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
It's good stuff. Well, football, college football, NFL football, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on this year.
Mm-hmm.
College football is really weird.
Extremely.
And today, I heard maybe one of the strangest things yet that I've heard. And this brings us to our first topic. Ryan Day needs $13 million.
That was actually from the ClevelandReport.com reported this story earlier today. Ryan Day has met with several top level business people in the Columbus area trying to get some kind of NIL collective going for Ohio State. And that's the crazy figure he came up with. He was saying, quoted in the article, you can read it for yourself at clevelandsports.com. It's freaking hilarious if you get a minute to read it. He said it would cost $2 million for a quarterback, a center, an offensive, and your center and your tackles would cost you roughly right around $1 million, and your interior linemen would cost about $500,000 apiece. So there's a chunk of that $13 million gone. What about the studs on defense? What are they gonna do there? Or about your wide receivers?
What about your kicker?
He's important. Shoot.
We're going to give him 10 grand. Get him out there kicking balls.
Oh my gosh. This NIL crap it's become the wild, wild west. And they knew the NCAA holes knew this would happen. They did nothing about it. They've not had no piece of legislation. They're just like saying, oh, here you go. Go do what you want to.
Well, I don't know if they really thought it was going to hit this hard, this fierce. And, I think the period that we're in right now with the NIL is just the beginning point.
Oh, it's going to get worse.
And I actually disagree with that. I've been thinking about this week, and I think what'll happen is as these new NIL kids come in, they get all this money, they start, buying expensive cars and doing dope and banging chicks and, doing all the things that they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to start getting kicked out of school. They're not going to keep their grades up. There's going to be a lot of that happens. It's going to be in the news. There's going to be a lot of ugly things that happen. And I think that some of these NIL, the businesses that are affiliated with them, are going to start taking a step back and saying, now, wait a minute, we're not going to keep committing that amount of money, for these guys. And I think over time, you're going to see that number dial back down into the stratosphere. That's what I think will eventually happen.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. And there's got to be clauses in these contracts that these businesses do, and there has to be some kind of behavior clause, or you would think the businesses would do that to protect themselves.
You would think so. I know, they can't repeal the deals, but I know, there's some clauses, got to be clauses in there.
It has to be.
There has to be.
And I think it's comical that Ryan Day is coming up with that $13 million figure. How the hell he did that, I'll never know. But he's coming out saying we got to do this, we got to do this to stay competitive. Well, I agree with him, but we've already talked about the spat between Jimbo and Nick Saban accusing each other of cheating. This is Ryan Day saying we're going to cheat, but we're not going to cheat bad.
Well, I think the NIL collectives, I think, as sports fans, we always affiliate ourselves with the school. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a call to arms for Buckeye Nation. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I think it's actually really smart for a coach to be like, this is what it's going to take to compete. Like this is the dollar amount that we're going to have this every single year for us to stay competitive. So, I just thought it was, when I saw it, I just thought it was kind of funny because no other coach has come out and said, this is what we're going to have. And it gives smaller schools like West Virginia, in my eyes, something to look at and say, how are we even going to begin to come up with that kind of money every year?
Right. And you look at these non-Power 5 schools and things like that. I mean, how are they going to be able to even compete on this stratosphere? I mean, these non-Power 5 schools, I mean, you got to think, your like your Conference USA, your American Athletic Conference, your better teams of those conferences will look to jump ship to the Power 5 conferences, like the Big 12. We're seeing what Cincinnati's doing. We're seeing, BYU thinking about jumping to the Big 12 and things like that. I mean, you're going to see basically, like you said, a call to arms.
Yeah. And, I think, over time, the haves and the have-nots are going to get sorted out, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to suck.
These, and the reason I'm so vested is, as a Mountaineer aficionado, because I don't call myself a fan, they fall right on that line between the haves and the have-nots. Like, you go by history, and they're a perennial powerhouse, history-wise.
Right.
But when it comes to money and the way they do things, it's not the same as everybody else. So they kind of fall on that line where I don't know where they'll fall.
Right. I agree. Absolutely.
There's a few other schools that can say the same, but West Virginia is one that is right on the cusp and could go either way. So all I know is give Ryan Day his $13 million. Marcus, explain to me now. You said that Ryan Day has the personality of a wet rag, and you got called out on it on our podcast many times.
Oh well.
Would you elaborate on that in case somebody that left a comment's listening?
To me, this screams like he's like has that dull look on his face, and he's not really into what he's doing. He's not passionate. He's not a Jim Harbaugh. He's not flamboyant. He's not outgoing. He's just like blah, like oatmeal without sugar, Kool-Aid without sugar. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. I was curious because there was a couple of people that asked. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
We'll move on to our second little topic of the night. Is Baker getting hosed?
Absolutely, he's getting hosed. He was blackballed by the Cleveland media. He played hurt with a separated shoulder all last year and damn near still took you to the playoffs. But, hey, let's not sign him. Let's push him away. He didn't take us to the playoffs. Of course he didn't. The Cleveland media blackballed Baker. And
let's bring in Sergeant Rub-and-Tug from Houston.
Exactly. And here's even better. Guarantee his contract. 5 years, $230 million, all guaranteed. Cleveland pulled a Cleveland. I hate to say this. Cleveland pulled a Cleveland. Is Deshaun Watson a heck of an athlete and a great quarterback? Absolutely. Is he better? Maybe. I mean, does he still have it? Maybe. Is he better than Baker Mayfield? You say yes. You say yes. I say I'm still.
I call it like I say, man. It's called the Cleveland Steamer. That's what it is.
Yeah, literally like Cleveland. They can't get out of their home daggone way. They have a little bit of success and they're like, oh cool, we have some success. Okay, let's go screw it up and blow it up and go back to the Stone Age.
Yep. But they Cleveland Steamer. They did it. It's a Cleveland Steamer. It's bad. Baker is getting hosed. And for all you statistics guys out there, go look at Brett Favre's first 4 years. Go look at Baker Mayfield's first 4 years. Compare where they come from and where they are.
4 years.
Well, the reason I use the Brett Favre example is because they have similar play styles, and their stats are they're identical through 4 years. Identical. Like you can put them side by side, and you really wouldn't know who's who.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield's the second coming of Brett Favre, but statistics say a lot. His mentality says a lot.
Yep.
And Cleveland just, I don't know. I hope this bites him on the butt. I hope that I'll tell you who it's really screwing is Lamar Jackson. That's
Yeah,
really who it's screwing.
exactly. And what it is the Haslam family. God love them. I've been a Cleveland fan for over 30 years. You know, I even hate to admit that even more. I mean, growing up as a Cleveland Browns fan, they did good when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Then, you know, the dark days happened and it was kind of hard to be a fan. But yet, you know, I'm still kicking. And then a Baker Mayfield came along. We thought we had, you know, another Bernie Kosar, another generational type player that could bring us back. You know, the first couple of years he goes through 4 different offensive coordinators, and then Kevin Stefanski comes in. They finally have stability at the coaching position. Finally have some stability at the coordinators. That first year they steamroll Pittsburgh in the playoffs. They play Kansas City. They should have won that game against Kansas City, and then they come back the very next year. Baker still almost takes you to the playoffs with a separated shoulder.
Yep. I mean, it's hard to it's hard to really wrap my brain around. What's up, Talkus Pitt? Glad to see you on here, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope your health's holding up. Glad to
Buddy,
see you back on YouTube. You know, it is. I mean, it is what it is. Did I just lose my little? I did my talking points. So that's okay.
That's all right.
But it is. You know, I hate it for Baker. I hate it for
do
OU. I mean, I hate it for him because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I just you know, we'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to bite Cleveland. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be a disaster.
And I'm going to go ahead and you can mark it down here on this podcast tonight. Deshaun Watson will not play a snap in 2022 for Cleveland. He will be suspended for the year. The NFL will make now people think I'm crazy. The NFL will make an example out of him due to their public image policies and things like that. The NFL will make an example out of him and will suspend him for the year. And here's going to be the thing. Cleveland still has Baker on their roster. Baker's sitting back, getting fat, making $18.5 million guaranteed money this year. Is he going to suit up for Cleveland? Would you suit up for Cleveland, or would you sit back and count your cash?
I mean, I would have a hard time if Baker would play it out. He's a better man than I am. You know, if he decides to play and give it a legitimate play, a legitimate go, he's a better man than me because I wouldn't. I'd pull a Deshaun Watson. I'd be like, not playing, not doing it. Figure it out.
Could you imagine though if he did? Okay, picture this one. Say they suspend Deshaun Watson for the year, which is a very remote possibility. Baker comes in and balls out, and they go to the playoffs. And let's take it one step further. Say they win the division. Then in 23, when Deshaun Watson comes off of that, Baker's a free agent. What do you do, Cleveland?
Well, and that's the thing, though, is that actually puts Cleveland in a good spot because
it does.
They move on to Deshaun and then they get trade value out of Baker. And I think that's what they're banking on is Baker will be Baker and he'll play and he'll do well and he'll try to play with that chip on his shoulder. And then, you know, if he balls out and does good, they're still going to trade him. They're still going to go on to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you guaranteed him so much money, you don't have a choice.
$230 million you guaranteed, and that puts the quarterback market skyrocket.
Like I said, Cleveland Steamer, the Ravens are the ones really paying the price for it. Lamar Jackson is not getting the love he deserves either, and that's a shame.
Yeah, because in my opinion, Lamar Jackson is a better player than Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield.
Number 3.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. WVU landing recruits. Does it matter?
Oh, gosh. This one's a good one. We're going to get called out on this one.
I'll start on this one.
Okay, you start on this one.
And the reason that I put this on here was because everybody's getting so jazzed about all these commits that West Virginia's getting. Granted, it's phenomenal. Love to see kids committing to come to WVU. I love it. It's great. However, between the course of 2022 and 2023, many things could come into play for WVU or against WVU that could keep these kids that are currently committing to WVU from coming to WVU. And that's called NIL money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the fans got to pump the brakes and not get so excited when we start having an influx of recruits committing to West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Because commitments don't mean shit. They can sign that letter of intent, don't mean shit. Until they're enrolled on campus, it don't mean crap.
Yep.
So don't get too excited about all these these recruits saying they're coming to West Virginia, because it really does not matter.
Nope.
What do you think?
No, it really, you're actually 100% legit right. It does not matter until they sign on the dotted line, they enroll in classes in Morgantown. It don't mean squat. And that's why everybody, because me, I'm an analytics, numbers, recruiting. I know recruiting like the back of my head. And I tell people all the time, stars don't mean squat, and it doesn't mean squat until they sign and their university grant package and they're enrolled in school. It does not mean squat. What looks good on paper, looks good on 247 Sports, looks good on Rivals, looks good on 3on3. All those out there, people getting paid, a lot of money to do all these articles that anybody could do.
Well, and the thing about WVU, it's a beautiful campus.
Oh, absolutely.
They have beautiful facilities. The people are nice. The coaches are nice. It sells itself.
Absolutely.
And that's great. But it's easy for a kid that's on a visit to commit to West Virginia because you're basing it on what you're seeing, what you're feeling, how homely, it feels like home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you play through your senior year of football in high school and you ball out, and then all of a sudden you've got NIL deals knocking at your door. I mean, who cares about how a campus feels when you can go somewhere and make $250,000 a year,
Yep, exactly. And that's when these companies, they have to have, every university is going to have some type of NIL collective bargaining agreement in place if they want to stay competitive.
I agree. I mean, it is what it is. It's going to be interesting to see, especially smaller schools like West Virginia, how I think they're going to get front loaded with commits, and then the back end is going to be ugly, just kind of how it was this year. I think that's going to be a trend for a little bit. Yeah,
until everything evens out.
All right, we'll move on. Number 4. Come on. Change the slogan from Trust the Climb. What are you changing it to?
Wait a daggum minute. Hold up. Pump your brakes.
Pump the brakes. That's a good one.
Pump the brakes. Hold up.
I'm going to change it to Beware the Minefield.
Yes.
Because harping back to what we just talked about, trusting the climb, it's no longer a climb.
No.
And that's not me slighting Neal Brown, while you might think that, because a lot of you know how I feel about Neal Brown. I do like Neal Brown. But trusting the climb, it might have been a climb before the NIL and the portal. It might have been a climb. It's no longer a climb.
Nope.
It's mitigating the minefield is what it is. Making the most out of the portal.
Yep.
When you lose players, like we just said, getting front end commits, getting overcommitted on the front end so that the back end don't burn you so bad.
Yep.
I think that, I think West Virginia could be on a good trajectory. It looks good on paper.
It does. And we're going to see how they perform this year. I mean, granted, they have JT Daniels now, and everybody and their mother, all these homer people. Let me
go ahead. No, just say it.
All these homers out there need to pump the brakes. I mean, my friends at the Raspy Voice Kids, they even agree with us. You got to pump the brakes and look at everything as a whole. Yeah, it's great getting JT Daniels here. He's going to be a great quarterback for us. The question is, can he stay healthy? Can he hold up against, is the offensive line going to be good behind him? We know they have some playmakers. We know that. And also, are they going to be able to catch the ball? And their first couple games, I mean, realistically, they could drop to Virginia Tech, they could drop to Pitt, and they have Kansas and Texas in the first couple games. So you could look at those first 4 games, and worst case scenario, be sitting at 1-3 and only beating Kansas.
I mean, and that's very, that's very, very likely. You know, I'm just going to talk about my issues with WVU for a minute because I don't always put them out there. And it's not because I don't like Neal Brown or don't like the trajectory that they're on. It's just there's certain things that don't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe somebody that's watching or you can explain this to me.
I can try.
I bring in a offensive-minded coach.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in for, 3 years. Offense looks like shit.
Right.
The defense, however, is better than about the best we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into year 4, and he's not looking. My head coach, my offensive-minded coach, isn't looking that great. So I bring in a high-powered offensive-minded offensive coordinator to run the offense.
Am I going to step away now?
What's if Neal Brown's not an offensive-minded coach, then what the hell is he?
Yeah, exactly. What is he? Is he a CEO? He's not a defensive-minded coach. What is he?
Well, and he's not a CEO because he can't make hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He can't make personnel decisions, and he won't fire his coaches.
Yep.
And people are going to think I'm hating on Neal Brown, and I'm not. It's just the facts. What is he actually bringing? Now, he must be a good recruiter. I'll give him that. I'll totally give him that. He must be a really good recruiter. But all that really means is that you're really full of shit. You're you're really good at selling kids.
Yeah, it's like a used car
and being full of shit. So I mean, explain it to me. What's your take on it?
I mean, I agree with literally 100% what you just said. I mean, I can't buy it. I mean, because when last year when both recruited help me out here, their offensive coordinator from last year, him and Neal Brown would take over. Neal Brown would coach after in between until they got to the red zone. I can't think right now. My mind's not.
I can't remember who it is either, but
yeah, I can't think right now.
Yeah, you had between the 20s.
Yeah,
one guy was calling plays, and inside the 20s, somebody else was calling the plays.
Yep, and that don't build good.
I mean, that shows that there's a lack of confidence to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting inside the 20. I mean, I remember, even coaching middle school, man. Once you got inside the 20, you were smelling blood.
Yeah, exactly.
As coaches, you know what plays to call. You know what's going to work. You know how to keep pushing. And
exactly.
I don't know. That's my biggest gripe with Neal Brown is I don't understand that.
Yep, I agree.
And the thing is if they bring in Graham Harrell and dude balls out as the OC, Neal Brown better watch out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because why would they keep him? Why do they need him?
Exactly. You could be looking at a mutiny again. Bill Stewart and Dana Holgorsen Part 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine what it would have been if they'd have just let Stu take it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, he wouldn't have lasted very long, but you know what I mean? Because he passed away. But I mean, a lot of people say that Pat White was the reason that they even gave Bill Stewart a shot.
Yeah, because Pat White told him that's who he wanted as a head coach.
And that was Bill Stewart. Well, God bless Bill Stewart. I mean, that's probably the nicest man.
He was one of the finest men ever to walk God's green earth.
Yeah, for sure. But guys, leave us comments. This is 304 Podcast here on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get our way to 1,000, guys. We're almost there. I think we're around 850 or so.
I believe so, yeah.
We'll keep doing the content. We do a lot of this for ourselves. We like to talk football and get on here and have a team mini martinis and just chat. So
and you get old Diet Dr. Pepper.
Well, the next piece of the show, let's talk a little more NFL. Eliminating the Pro Bowl.
Get rid of it. It sucks.
Is there any way we can salvage it? Is there any reason to salvage it?
No, because all it is a glorified scrimmage now. It's not People don't even want to halfway play in the Pro Bowl. The ratings are in the toilet. Just flush it. Just flush it. I mean, give people like, you can still call people all pro. They made the Pro Bowl, and you can still do all that, fancy slogans and stuff like that. But I haven't enjoyed watching the Pro Bowl since I was a kid. And whoever's in the Super Bowl, those players aren't going to be in a Pro Bowl anyway because they're getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Well, and I always thought them moving it to when the season was still going on was stupid.
Yeah.
At least at the end of the season, you could have everybody there. I don't know. Like, I would like to see them tied in to maybe where the Super Bowl's hosted.
Yeah.
You pick 2 sites, and whoever wins the previous year's, whoever wins you pick 2 teams, 2 sites, whoever wins the 2022 Pro Bowl, that's where the 2023 Super Bowl is going to be.
Or they can have like the AFC. If the AFC wins, they're the home team of the Super Bowl, or something along those lines.
I like the site thing because then cool. or even make it to where if you're the MVP of the Pro Bowl, that's where we're gonna have the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying this is where it's going to be, like make it worth something, like something. I don't know.
Something.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible the way it is now. It's the biggest piece of crap. It's the biggest piece of crap show there is.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because you watch like basketball isn't bad.
And even the
All-Star game
is not bad.
The NHL All-Star game is great.
Not bad, yeah.
I just don't understand why football can't figure it out. I just don't understand it.
You got me, brother.
Let's see here. That was number 5. Now this next one, if you're watching, be sure to speak up. I had all these typed out, guys, and I changed it and it deleted them all. So
right.
Yeah. Early Heisman predictions.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Who's your top 3 for the Heisman?
As much as it pains me to say this, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young.
I agree with all of those. I'll tell you one that could really
Kurt Herbstreit.
I'll tell you one that's kind of flying under the radar that I think there's potential for, and that's your boy from Miami, TVD.
Yeah, I could see it.
And the reason I say that is because I feel like Miami's going to ball out this year, and he's going to be a big part of the reason they ball out.
Very well could.
And if they go undefeated, it's going to be a big part because of him.
Exactly.
It would be hard not to put him in the top 3.
Exactly. I mean, just say for the sake of argument, they don't win the Texas A&M game, but they go 11-1, and they win the ACC. He's still there, in my opinion. He's still there because they had rolled through the rest of their schedule. They have won a pretty decent ACC. The ACC won't be top-notch great, but Clemson will be better this year because of their defense. Not so much their offense, but they'll be better because of their defense. With TVD, if he lights it up like everybody says he will, then there's no reason why he couldn't be in the conversation, why he couldn't be sitting there in New York.
I agree. I think, that kind of segues us into, we'll go ahead and combine this one. Way too early NCAA playoff predictions.
Ooh.
Because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
What teams are on your radar? If you pick your playoff 4, which 4 teams
right now? And people's gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And you've talked about this. Out of the Pac-12, I'm gonna put USC in there. People think USC's not gonna have much, and I disagree. USC will be a whole hell of a lot better than people give them credit for. I think USC is a playoff team. I think Miami from the ACC is a playoff team if they can beat Clemson. If they beat Clemson and they roll through the rest of their schedule, I don't see any reason why Miami couldn't be in the playoffs. Then you're going to have either Alabama or Georgia from the SEC. That's a toss-up. I mean, you can't have this. This is going to be a year where the SEC doesn't get two teams in.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But I think it's either going to be Alabama or Georgia. I don't think Tennessee's quite there yet, talent-wise, to keep up and beat Alabama and Georgia, since they do play both Alabama and Georgia. I think Tennessee's a ways away. That's really the only other team in the SEC that could potentially challenge Georgia and Bama talent-wise right now. And as far as that goes, I mean, you're looking, like I said, Miami, USC, either Alabama or Georgia, and a fourth one. I don't know. Those are really the only three teams that I can really legitimately think would have a shot now.
I think, and I agree with you on all points. And you know that, USC is going to be a lot better than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Miami is going to be a lot better than people think.
Especially Texas A&M at Texas A&M this year.
I think, out of the SEC, you could see Alabama or A&M and potentially Georgia. Yep. I think Georgia's going to have a little bit of a down year, though. They lost so much defensively.
They lost a lot on defense.
It's silly to think that that's not going to impact their team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to mention, too, the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, that could be your fourth playoff participant right there.
Well, and that's where I was going. I think Ohio State, Alabama. I really think USC, if they go undefeated, and they absolutely can.
Absolutely.
They're going to be in the talks. At least going into the Rose Bowl.
Absolutely, at least minimum Rose Bowl.
I mean, could they get in with one loss? I think they probably could. I think they probably could. That is if they don't drop an ugly loss to a team that they shouldn't lose to. I mean, I think on their schedule, which we'll break that down, but I think the teams that they got to be afraid of. I think they play Notre Dame and Utah
and Oregon.
I'm not. My thing is Caleb Williams. Everybody talked about he was a generational talent last year. And then he leaves with Lincoln and all that crap, and then everybody's like, "Oh, he sucks." And it's like, he was a generational talent when he was at Oklahoma. What the hell makes you think he's not going to do the same thing at USC?
Exactly.
I mean, he's going to ball out. There's no doubt about that. And now he's got weapons around him. He's got good weapons around him.
Yeah, Jordan Addison from Pitt.
It's just going to come down to their offensive line. They've got to be able to spread the defense out and give Caleb time to do what he does. That's the big part. But Ohio State, Alabama, or A&M, I'm kind of interchanging those this year. I think, it could be one or the other. Miami, USC, that'd be the four I'm really going to be watching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anybody else that's on kind of the level of those. And, Ohio State, I think, has got such a big advantage over all the rest of the Big Ten schools with their talent level. I don't know, Tim.
I don't think so, Timmy. Not this year.
I think. Which one is that? Which one's Georgia in? They're in the
East. The SEC East.
I mean, if you look at the East, probably the best looking team that outside of Georgia is Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think
they're a year or two away.
They're still a year or two away. And Georgia, I know everybody's still stuck up Georgia's butt, but man, they lost 8 defensive starters to the 8 NFL starters. They lost. When you lose that, you're going to be diminished, and they're going to be diminished. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they'll still have the good talent behind them, but it'll be unproven talent. I mean, they'll be good as the year goes on, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them to drop a game or two along the way this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, the SEC is so ultra competitive. I
Exactly.
mean,
They beat the
at
piss
any
out of
time,
each other. And any team can beat anybody. And they beat
except
the
for
piss out.
Vanderbilt.
So yeah, it works out Vanderbilt. Uh, they literally beat the piss out of each other every year. I mean, it's why they're the best, best conference in the country.
And they really are. I mean, from
I
top to
mean,
bottom,
it pains me to say that, but it's true.
I mean, it is, and a lot of people don't like to admit that, but you know, from top to bottom, it is the best conference. It's the most competitive conference. It's got the best
Yep.
players.
Yep.
It's got the most money. It's got the best coaches.
Yep.
Best
network.
And if you want to get into geography, it's got some of the best geography in the country too. I mean, it's got everything working for it, and that's why it's such a juggernaut.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and they're only going to get better too because they have in 25 Texas and Oklahoma coming in.
There's Brett Bell. I think
SC. It's possible.
It's very possible.
I mean, they with Spencer Rattler and that tight end and Shane Beamer. I mean, that's possible.
Well, I mean, the thing is Spencer Rattler, like I've given him up the river a hard time, but the fact of it is 1 year ago, he was awesome. Like
he was on top of the world.
He was Heisman front runner. This time last year, me and Mark was talking about Spencer Rattler being a Heisman front runner. That's what we're talking about. And there was something. I think there was something that happened. You know, maybe it was the NIL money. Maybe it all went to his head. We all know he's kind of a prick. That's just who he is. I don't hold that against him. Be a prick. It's fine. Be overconfident. That's what quarterbacks do. That's what make them great.
Yep.
But there was a disconnect that I feel like he had with Oklahoma. And maybe it was Caleb Williams. Maybe it was he was reading between the lines with Lincoln Riley. Maybe he didn't want to go to USC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot you can read into that. And I look for him to maybe bounce back and have a huge year. I mean,
he could.
You can't totally dismiss him. That's silly.
No, that'd be stupid to dismiss him because, as SC is going to have a good team this year. I mean, and Shane Beamer's first year, they literally picked him to win 2 to 3 ball games in his first year. He comes out and not only qualifies for a bowl game, beats a good North Carolina team in the Duke's Mayo Bowl with Sam Howell as their quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you there, Brett. I think that's a good
very
notion.
Logical. I agree with that.
I think Georgia fans need to kind of wake up a little bit because it's not going to be like it was last year.
This will be a test for Georgia. If they can bounce back, it'll prove that Georgia is now a part of the elite conversation every single year, like with your Alabama, and that would prove that they are legit every year.
Yeah, and I personally think if I had to pick a winner of it all this year, I mean, I'm going to go with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Defensively, they got a little bit to show me there, but offensively, I think they can outscore anybody in the country. I think C.J. Stroud is. I underestimated him last year, and I won't do that again. And his performance against Utah in the Rose Bowl was amazing. I mean, he was amazing. He was doing things that quarterbacks his age shouldn't be able to do.
Exactly.
And there's no reason for me to think that that's not going to continue onward and upward. And,
Well, you never know if they win a national title, maybe the dish rag might smile.
The dish rag. Brett Bell, you've been doing all right, man. Everybody doing all right down there in South Carolina. Hey, we appreciate you listening in on that Tommy Bowden interview, man. That was a treat and a half there to get to talk to him.
That was great.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about, Marcus? Any other topics you want to discuss?
No, I mean, I think we pretty well hit everything out of the park that we previously talked about. I mean,
the Madden. What's up with the Madden 23 cover? Because you brought that up.
Yeah, supposedly I haven't heard anything official yet, but supposedly there's not going to be a player on the Madden 23 cover this year. It's going to be John Madden himself on the cover, which would be kind of cool. To pay homage to the great John Madden, because we did lose John Madden this past year. So,
no, I think that's cool. I look forward to seeing that. I think I think it's about time, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about a one man's name that redefined
A video game
a
franchise.
video game franchise. Yeah, I mean,
And made
I
a
remember.
ton of money.
I mean, I remember, you know, Tecmo Super Bowl and Joe Montana Sports Talk Football, and I'll never forget the first time I played Joe Montana Sports Talk Football.
Oh, it was great.
It was amazing. But
then you had EA Sports developed Madden football. Then it took off, and I remember '95 playing the Madden football for the first time in 1995 with the Green Bay Packers, and you had Brett Favre in his prime throwing dimes all over the field, and it was great.
Wow, I think that's cool. I'm glad I asked because I was curious.
Yeah, I think I was reading an article. Of course, if I please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But if I did read that right in passing.
Talkus Pit said, "Okay, I'm back." I was putting GBD in his place. Is my mic doing something weird?
Yeah, I think it is. It was going. Yeah.
Let me see here. Anyway. Tim, is it buzzing?
Yeah, you're buzzing.
Goodness. Don't know why. Let me try something. So either make it better or worse.
There
we go. Is that any better?
Oh, that's worse. That was worse.
I don't know what the deal is.
How about now? I don't know either. That sounds a little bit better now. Try to take your mic away and just use your headphone.
I turned it off.
Okay, that's better now. I can hear you better now. You're not buzzing.
I don't know what's up with that stupid thing. I can still hear the feedback. Oh, it's not buzzing, Tim, so everything sounds fine?
Oh, now you went to buzzing.
Isn't that weird?
That's really weird.
Yeah. I swear, Talkus Pit, man. I can't watch. I'm not going to say that. I can't say that on here. I'm glad you're putting him in this place. That's all I can say.
What just happened?
I muted you and then muted myself to see if that did anything.
Oh, okay.
No, I used to watch a lot of their podcasts and stuff, and I kind of had to give it up because it was kind of getting on my nerves. There's too many homers on that West Virginia side, and I just can't handle that. I can't handle that anymore. It drives me nuts. It's you buzzing.
Am I buzzing now? Oh, dang.
Yep.
It could be my phone's about to die, too. So, who knows?
Well, guys, we'll go ahead and sign off for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. It's Sam the Man with the 304 podcast here on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Everybody have a good night. We'll do this again. Me and Marcus is trying to work out some formats. While Tim's on vacation for 304 Athletics, we don't have any interviews coming up. So we're just trying to make some content, have some fun, talk some football. So I appreciate everybody tuning in and comment. I'm not saying WVU will be bad, but a double-digit win against Pitt is insane. Brother, I agree with you 100%. I know Marcus does too. Anybody that would say that is a homer, period. That's it. They're a total homer. If you say that, you're a homer. Yeah, hey, we'll get you on, man. Mute yourself, Marcus. Jesus. The buzzing's coming from you, buddy. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you on, man. We'll me, you, Marcus will do something at some point if we can keep Marcus from buzzing. But you guys, I'll be in touch. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off because that buzzing's killing me, driving me nuts. But I think Marcus's phone was dying was the problem. Got to charge that phone, boy. Got to charge that phone. But anyway, everybody have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.